Great Tuesday evening, May 25th, 2021. To God be the glory for yet another beautiful closing of another balmy spring day. Let me ask you, as we are going into this first holiday weekend, do you have any folks in your household who are not doing that which is right in the sight of the Lord? They are just wild. They are not being respectful. They're not being cognizant of the grace of God. It could be a 5-year-old. It could be a 15-year-old. It could be a 50-year-old. Listen. Well, there's some hope tonight for anyone who is dealing with a difficult situation with their family. In 2Kings16, it talks about a king from Judah, and he was 20 years old when he started to reign, and he would put his son through the fire. He sacrificed his children. Back then, that was common. It says in verse 3, he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, yea, and made his sons to pass through the fire. Now, these were the evil kings. And made his son pass through the fire according to the abominations, the terrible things of the heathen, when the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places and on the hills and under every green tree. Oh, no. This was King Ahaz, who started to reign, like I said, when he was late, early adulthood, late adolescence. And listen, the Lord can use young adults for his glory if we are yielded. But then at the same time, if we're not yielded, we can act out here. I was on a call this evening with an alderman, and there was someone who called in, and she was talking about, well, her concern with the upcoming holiday weekend and how so many people gather in the streets. And I don't know if it was the case for your neighborhood, but there were firecrackers that went on into the wee hours of the morning. And I understand we were coming out of the pandemic, but it was just very disruptive, at least with Labor Day and 4th of July and Memorial Day last year. And the lady was asking, what are you all going to do to curb this? And the police commander said, well, if you have a relationship with the young people, then you could probably informally have a conversation and try to encourage that dialogue so that they won't do that. Otherwise, call 911. Listen, guys, listen. We are hearing already of the craziness in the streets of Chicago, but it's not only Chicago, it's across the country and cities. And if we have some young people who are not doing what is right in the sight of the Lord, there is a remedy. He gives direct instruction for us. In Proverbs 25, because of today's date, we would have gone over that. And the first thing is how we respond. How do we respond when we have some older folks, young folks who are not doing what is wise and pleasing in the Lord? The first thing is verse 11, to be very careful but candid and speak in love. In verse 11, it says, a word fitly spoken are like apples. They're delicious, they're nourishing, they're strengthening. They're like apples of gold and pictures of silver. The Lord would have us to use our words so that we can nourish and strengthen, but challenge those who are not doing the right thing. Because in verse 15, it says, a soft tongue can break the bones, right? You can be so powerful with the words that the Lord gives us. When there are unfaithful people who are cutting up, doing their own thing in the streets, the Lord can direct our words so that we can minister grace without preaching to them. But our words will speak life, and there will be conviction. And it says, in verse 12, as an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wise reprover, a corrector, if someone is open and obedient. But guess what? Young people don't care what you know until they know you care. So having that connection, that relationship. So then their ear might be open at that point. Just like the cop was saying, if you have a relationship, yeah, they might listen. Otherwise, call 911. Wow. Well, something. If the people in your life are not doing what is right and they are just cutting up, look, and they're just out in the streets and they are being destructive, something else that the Lord wants us to do, verse 24, not quarrel, not fight, not go back and forth, because it's better to live alone than to live with someone who's quarreling. The Lord will fight your battles. And also, it says in verse 21, if thine enemy be hungry, yeah, you still could show love by giving them food. And if they're thirsty, you still could give them drink. Because with this, you will heap coals of fire upon their head. That means that they'll feel guilty. The Lord will have a way to have the Holy Spirit convict them. And if they're wild, where they have no rule over their own spirit, they're broken down, they're vulnerable, listen, the Lord will use us so that we can build them up with construction, not destruction. Let the Lord fight our battles and use us in all the places they can still go as we are being used. So let's make sure that we are being strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Let's put on the whole armor of God. We know that there's a lot going on, but there are some tools that the Lord wants us to utilize as we are confronting some situations out here, especially coming up in a holiday weekend. Have a great evening being used by the Lord and listening.